Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another backstage interview for the silver edition of the Metals Investor Forum. I'm glad to have Joe with me today from Outcrop. Joe, thanks for taking the time to add a little bit to the Outcrop story.
Gwen, thank you. It's a privilege to be here with you.
So I wanted to, in just a moment of chatting before we started recording here, you commented that you're a little bit in that transition phase between you made a bunch of exciting discoveries of high grade shoots and you're working on sort of fleshing those out. And then there's new targets that are coming down the pipeline, but we don't have clear discoveries on those targets yet. And so you're in that grunt phase in the middle where you got to do both things and the market always wants more, right?
Yeah.
So maybe to let people in on the process a little bit, why don't we focus in on one of the shoots that has been working out well for you? And why don't you take us through how you found it, how delineating it has gone, what you've learned from it, and then we can maybe apply that to what's happening next.
Yeah. Well, probably the first discoverer was La Ivana. There it was really a fairly simple process of going in and in some cases rehabilitating old workings. So there you had the luxury of having 2 or 3 workings along 400 meters defining a vein. Touch the vein, step off, map it, get the attitude, and drill it. That's probably was 2 of the first 5 discoveries were much like that. It was pretty well put your hand on it at surface or underground and drill it. And then what we found is that unusually for Colombia rainforest, we have outcrop. We have good resistant outcrop, not everywhere, but between 300 years of primitive mining and modern methods, like the soil sampling, we're able to trace outcrop to workings. And then typically, since the veins are almost uniformly the veins outcrop, but the shoots don't necessarily. So where we have soil lines, we'll have a geologist come through all the soil line stations and look for float. So approximately where you have vein. You may not have shoot, but you have vein. And so then you'll start trenching and sampling along those trends. And usually you'll get some amount of mineralization indicated in the trenches. Another thing we're finding is particularly on the high angle shoots, there's almost a periodicity to them. So we drilled the Roberto Tavar and we stepped off 300 meters and hit the San Juan. Probably we'll go south and north. It may not be exactly 200 to 300 meters spacing, but there seems to be a periodicity to that's structurally related, and so that's another benefit.
Gotcha. Let's talk about how many shoots you have now and how many I mean, it's a bit of an open-ended question, but how many you want? Not endless isn't the only answer here. How many you need? How many would make this into a project, the kind of project of substance that you think it can be?
Yeah, I think what we're doing now, and part of the slowdown on the assays is the depth we have to drill. Is we have to drill to 350 meters, and then we're finding some of the chutes are still open. Our goal really is, I think last time we talked, I did a simple measurement. I think you were taking notes on the measurements of the chutes and the widths and the grade. I really think if we put together 10, or let's say 12, if we put together 12 chutes, we'll have the magic number that the industry likes. Yeah. And it will be at high grade. What it's looking at is almost weighted average grades of drilling, weighted average grades of simple, very, very simple solid models. Everything's coming out at 1.4 kilograms silver per ton. So it's almost like that's what we're going to have probably. And we'll have locally 4 or 5 kilograms, but we'll end up having chutes of the mat on the order of 250 meters by 300 meters plus down dip. And they will ultimately, as we drill out the pinch and swell, I think we'll average up to about 1.2 meters true thickness. If we get 12, we have 30% of the veins we have mapped and sampled, drilled. I think that it's on average, it's 2,400 meters to discover and have exploration stage definition on the chute. So my hope is that within 6 months that we have the chance of hitting that 10, 12 chute number. We're seeing a lot of consistency of them. We're seeing a lot of consistency in grade, and it's just going to be a matter of first an internal count or an internal estimate. And when we think we have that good number, we will do the compliant resource estimate.
Gotcha. Let's talk about the targets that are coming up. There's some, through the process that you just described between soil and float sampling, and occasionally now, I mean, you went into the obvious underground workings, but some of them still have some tunnels into them and whatnot. What do some of these targets that are coming up look like? I mean,
the two most interesting right now are Morales. We've actually identified 3 veins within a 20-meter interval that run from 0.7 meters to 1 meter in width. We've got several we've got good anomalies in there, and we can actually trace those for 300 meters. So that's really teed up to drill.
mm-hmm.
And then we have Palomas, which is to the east. We noticed we were a little bit, I shouldn't say disinterested, but Palomas had us a little confused. It was mostly a breccia, and without much defined quartz. And then we realized that's what the top of Roberto Tovar, El Dorado, and San Juan looked like. So we know we're probably in the zone above. Okay. And also what we found is the geophysics really gave us a lot of confidence on vein traces, because vein, it's easy to put a line on a map, but when you have a physical measurement of it, it gives you some. So we've correlated the geophysical linear split chargeability and resistivity with our geochem, and honestly, we have 16 targets.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about drill count. Now that you have 16 targets and quite a few that are still evolving and therefore are requiring drills and 300 meter, 400 meter holes on those drill holes, which take some time. You just raised a bunch of money. How many drills do you have now? And are you thinking of increasing that to attack this range of targets?
We have 2 rigs. We're just getting up to full capacity on the second one because we did have some COVID quarantine protocols when the drillers came back. So, so we weren't full capacity right away, but we have 2 rigs running. One is in definition delineation of to depth and at strike. So of the 5 chutes, we have good drill definition where we're seeing how big those really are. Mm-hmm. In some cases, we're going to start infilling. I noticed that, for example, Wisla is filling in Napoleon at under 20 meters, and that wasn't our sort of game plan. Our game plan was find more chutes, but at the same time, you really want to know what the quality of these things are before you get ahead of your skis. So we will be doing some definition, both to see if we average up on thickness, and then just to see that if the grade continuity is what we think it is. Otherwise, we're not in a real hurry to bring on more than 2 rigs yet. But if we do get to the stage, of course, when we have several more chutes added, then we might be able to bear another rig, but I don't know how Wisla handles 8 rigs, but
fair enough.
I mean, it's very difficult, and it's also very difficult to have an efficiency of drill footage to return. So, but yeah. I can tell you, we'll put rigs on it as soon as we're justified in doing it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I think that's a good setup. We understand what you're doing, where it came from, where you're going. I appreciate you taking the time to give us a second look.
And it'll probably be 24,000 meters this year. So,
Right.
but hey, thanks so much, Gwen, for your time and for the audience.
You're welcome. Take care.